Akanji. Share. That's a nice disguised pass. And Doya cross could go anywhere. It's in! Brilliant polo is there for Switzerland. And they can touch their first ever semi-final now. Well, Switzerland sitting in now. And England are going to find it difficult to find a way through. They already had issues trying to cause any problems. Saka goes for goal and scores a stunner! England are back level, and it's sensational from Saka. Just when it looked like they might be heading out again, England have come up with an equaliser. It's Cole Palmer for England, and Palmer scores. Confident penalty from the substitute in Jordan Pickford. Akanji, saved by Pickford, who gets down to his left to keep out Manuel Akanji. How are they here? Rolled in very casually indeed. It's a cool penalty from Jude Bellingham. It's Cher. It's in. Very coolly done by Fabian Cher. Saka rolls it in. Didn't look the cleanest hit penalty, but it did the job for England. Shaqiri, great penalty. Absolutely drilled into the corner. And it's in. Well, his club manager, Thomas Frank, says he thinks he's the best penalty taker in the world. Amdouni scores straight down the middle. Kept his nerve there.
Thank you so much for joining us for today's edition of Euros Today right here on Joy Prime, which is also on 281 on DSTV. You know, we're getting closer and closer to the end of the show and the end of the tournament for that matter, and there's so much to talk about. Remember, the semi-final processes begin later today, and the big question is who gets to make it to the final stage of this competition, which is the big final itself that we're looking forward to this weekend. Well, those are the questions we will try to answer here based on the performances that have been put up and the kind of vibe that we're also getting from the the officials, the players, and everybody else. We'll do a few calculations here and there and see if we can give you the best possible answers ahead of the very big final. But of course, before the final, we have to book the tickets. Later today, we'll see who makes it out of this very, very tough duel. The French going up against the Spanish. Who prevails in this very big encounter? Well, later on this morning, Victor Atsu Tamakloe and Mubarak Haruna will be joining me in the studio for more conversations. Of course, the big philosophies and all the big figures coming from Adamu, Ben, and Karim also right here. So thank you for being with us. We'll get down to the conversations very, very shortly. Stay with us. Do remember that the show is proudly sponsored by NASCO and Heritage Christian College. We will get to the conversations immediately after this round of messages. All right. Thank you so much for staying with us, and we're going down into the conversations. The show is proudly sponsored by Electroland Ghana Limited, who are the sole distributors of NASCO electronic products. NASCO, bring home happiness. And also Heritage Christian College. They are empowering passionate entrepreneurial leaders. Okay, so we get down to the conversations. Gentlemen, good to see you. Good to see you, gentlemen.
Likewise.
You look a little dull. What's the problem? You know, aside the fact that the dollar is at 15, 16.
All good now.
All good? Very well. Yeah, actually good to have you back. Yeah, in the past few days, we've had some near, confrontations here in the studio between Karim and, and Danny K. Danny K's passion with Portugal is something we need to investigate. It's
On Saturday, I had to be on the show because Daniel's state of mind was
Can you show this picture here? He was seated like this.
Like, even while the show was ongoing, he would sometimes slip into no man's land, thinking about,
Wow.
the man loves Ronaldo, and Ronaldo affects him.
Yeah, so we need to get the medics here. The next time anything
That's why he's not here.
Ronaldo-ish comes up. Yeah.
That's why he's not here. He's still not recovered. So we've checked him to go and see, not a shrink, but to see a doctor just to get him back to his best, because we need that. When he's on form, he's one of our best strikers. But it looks like his good striker has left him in.
Guys, let's start off with the journey. The journeys that have been traveled, the respective journeys that have been traveled by these two sides, and then we get down to the specifics. Now, France clearly wants to get back to that power, that firepower, that pace, that interconnecting play and everything that they were known for back in 2018. Interestingly, it's the same man, Didier Deschamps, who is in the saddle, and that teaches everybody who's in international football setups a big lesson about waiting. I mean, we had a recent example in Senegal, when one of their legends led the team over a space of 7 years. Aliou Cissé led the team over 7 years to go and win the AFCON. There are major lessons in there, right?
No, there are. Apart from the fact that they were patient, Didier Deschamps delivered results, both on and off the pitch. So, for example, in the past decade or the decade preceding his appointment, France always had disciplinary issues. There were factions in the national team. There were players who had problems at club level that somehow were not managed, and so eventually they transcended and carried over, spilled over when they were in the national team camp. So the Mathieu Valbuena, Karim Benzema episode is an example. The indiscipline issues, Anelka, Patrice Evra, the fallout, sometimes mutiny, even in major tournaments. So when he took charge of the team, the expectation and the responsibility was that beyond playing good football, he needed to create harmony. He needed to restore some order and discipline in the French national team. And by and large, he's been able to achieve that to the extent that even when Karim Benzema resolved his off-field issues and became eligible again, he delayed that decision and waited until I think Euro 2020 when he introduced him into the national team, and in a manner that did not affect the balance of the team and also did not affect the mood or the chemistry that the team had built off the pitch at that point. So in terms of his man management, it's been excellent. I mean, when he's dropped certain players, he's been able to communicate clearly to these players and also do it in a manner that makes the players feel appreciated, that whenever the team needed them, they would step up and then they would perform. That's not something every manager, even at the elite level is capable of doing. Some managers will communicate to you, but they'll do it in a manner that will still leave the player feeling alienated. So I think he scored full marks.
An example.
No, fortunately for us, we've not had any high-profile incidents like that. So, so by and large, on that score, I think he scored full marks. In terms of the football itself, I think France have been patient because he has earned their trust. And at each stage, he has delivered the results that have bought him time. And so if you look at from Euro 2016, which was the 2014 World Cup, he made the quarters. Euro 2016, he made the final on home soil. So you could clearly see progress there. Then at the next major tournament, which was the World Cup, he delivered it. He won the World Cup and then went all the way. There was Euro 2020 as well. Things were not exactly great, but the next tournament, he makes it to the final. And now he has managed to make it to the semi-final of this competition again. So in terms of the results on the pitch, it's been fantastic. He's also been able to manage the team through various transitional periods, and it has not really affected the team, even though he's moved certain players on. And so at the point when he introduced Kylian Mbappe and Ousmane Dembele into the team, Mbappe was 18, Dembele was roughly 21, if I'm not mistaken. But all of this, the long game for him, or the goal for him at each stage has been protect the integrity of the team. Do not let performance levels and standards drop in the name of going through a transitional period. That's why in the last 4 or 5 years, you would find that some of the players who won them the World Cup are no longer there. Varane is no longer the player he was. He's not even been part of the team. Blaise Matuidi phased out. Paul Pogba phased out. But in
Pogba
the last...
with all of his issues with substance use and all of that.
Curiously, Pogba never created problems while in the national team. But in the last 3 or 4 years...
He went to Manchester United to create problems.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that is
Against
what
Mourinho.
shows you that the manager can take a great player with the baggage and decouple the two and take the substance into the national team and achieve results. So in the last 3 years, when they've moved all of these strong personalities on, they've still had enough to move the team to still go on and attain great heights. So they've won the World Cup. Sorry, they made the World Cup final, lost to Argentina, and now they are in the semis of the Euros, even though they've had to make some significant changes to the team. So the right back is no longer the same player. Jules Koundé in the last 3 years has been the right back. Left back, they've had issues with Lucas Hernandez, who's been injured. His brother, Theo Hernandez, stepped in the second game of the last World Cup, and he's not looked back. They've moved on Rafael Varane. Saliba has stepped in and is playing like... It's like this was... It's not a new team to him. He's taken to life in the national team as a dark wool to water. In midfield, Pogba has taken away a bit of quality by with his absence, but still, they found a way to make it to the semis. And so, whilst it is a cautionary tale and a lot of countries could take a cue from there, the signs and the pointers of success have always been there. And I would say that at each stage, he has bought himself time with sound management and results.
Sound management and results indeed. And that just also brings me to, one key element that you mentioned. These players, these talents, and lifting them out of whichever problem they have and making the most out of them. Well, this player I'm about to mention hasn't really done much in terms of the problem element. He's rather delivered on the pitch. Good old, in quotes, good old N'Golo Kante. N'Golo Kante is a workaholic. He gets all the dirty work done, but what you're assured about is that once he's on the pitch and he's not injured or he's not semi-fit, he's going to give you what you're looking for. How then does he fit into this whole big mix?
Well, I think has he ever flopped in the French national team? I haven't really seen that before. I think in about 13 matches he played for France. They are yet to be defeated. No wonder he's won about 2 Man of the Match awards in the competition so far. I mean, he's a cog in the midfield of that French national team. He's, like I always say, he's a bundle of energy. He doesn't get tired.
And not to cut you as well, Victor, I think this is a good time to start getting into our research spaces because you see, in another country, they would go try to strip his genes and try to locate where he's come from and what advantages they could get so they could replicate it in another country because this guy is something else. N'Golo Kante is something else.
In terms of energy? Yeah. Well, yeah. He demonstrated that over the years from Leicester to Chelsea to Saudi, and now he's back in the France national team. I think there's never been doubt about his work rate. He never gets tired. He's so aggressive from minute 1 to minute 90. He's just exerting much energy, and almost all the players around him are not capable of doing that. Tchouaméni, Rabiot, these players eventually get tired in the dying embers of the game, but N'Golo Kante does not. And I think he's very key to everything that you have spoken about, the wonderful work Didier Deschamps has done. But I think much credit should be given to this guy because he's performed superbly well from 2016 till date.
All right. Now, this is a big block within the midfield of France. Now, you're looking at how a Spanish side who have been very, very consistent can put up a strategy and a play format that can be difficult for the likes of him to intercept and difficult for him to more or less exist within that space.
Before that, though, I think we need to give De La Fuentes his flowers. The numbers that they are beginning to rack up do not tally with the expectations people have of them and even how highly rated they should be. Since 2023, Spain have won 15 out of 19 matches. They've won the last 9 on the bounce. And in that time, no team has been able to match in Europe, I mean, Spain's percentage of 79% of matches won in that period. If you also look at the current run of form that they are on, they've won 9 matches. The last time Spain matched that tally or bettered it was between June 2009 and then June 2010. And we all know what happened in that period. They won the World Cup. In terms of what the manager has done, these numbers essentially just goes to show that quietly he's been building a very impressive team. And even for this particular Euros, they are shattering all the records. No team in the history of the competition has won 6 consecutive bounds, 6 consecutive games in the European Championships. No team has won 6 consecutive games in a single competition. So if they win tonight, we essentially will be looking at an all-timer team in terms of the consistency and just how easily they are able to find their rhythm in between this competition. And for me, if there's one thing that I want to see from them tonight is just stay true to the ideals that have served them very well. The variety in the attack, in the sense that they can create problems for France by going wide through Lamine Yamal and then Nico Williams, who for my money has been the best player in this tournament, but also, as they did in the opening 30 minutes against Germany, as they did against Italy, especially against Croatia as well, they can find solutions in central areas. They can create chances in central areas. And that's where you've seen that a good number of the shots that they've taken from central areas have been high-quality shots, not just shoot and hope that they are going to score, but where they clearly carve out the opponent, stretch the defense, and you get either by a decoy run or by a dribble, they're able to create space and chance for one player to get onto the end of that. And what easily comes to mind for that pattern of play will be the goal that Rodri scored, and even Dani Olmo in the 4-0 that they recorded recently. And so this is a team that has multiple tools and variety in terms of how they attack. But this is perhaps the most prepared and provisioned opponents they will come up against, because, as we've said repeatedly, France have not looked vulnerable. They hardly concede chances. Against Portugal, they conceded an XG of 1.7. And it looked like they had conceded a lot of chances, because France are a very mean unit who hardly give away anything. And so they would have to bring their A game tonight. I would want to see how the manager weaves his magic around that French midfield and defense, because France essentially play with 3 ball winners in front of that back 4. Tchouaméni, Camavinga, who I expect will start, N'Golo Kante. Even if it's Adrien Rabiot, all 3 of them are ball winners. And so stylistically, it is very difficult to see how they are going to carve them on. Nobody's done it in this particular competition, but Spain, who are looking like the best team in this tournament, might just be the right team or the right opponent to attempt that and perhaps have a better chance of being able to unlock that defense than any other team.
Look, Nat, on that, I think in as much as France are very good defensively, I think there have been teams in this competition that have created decent chances against France. You can talk about the Netherlands, you can talk about Portugal. These teams have created a couple of chances that are clear against this France defense. Now, you look at, Atsu has spoken about how the Spanish team is not one-dimensional anymore. They are quite unpredictable, they're quite dynamic. They could go on the wings, they could create chances from open play as well. But the reason why I'm very confident in the France attack is that in the Spain attack is that Spain will press high up the pitch. And I think with that style of play, France will be forced to attack because they know that there will be spaces left in behind. They'll rely on Mbappe, Thuram, Kolo Muani, or whoever will start up front at the top end of the pitch to make an impact. Okay, now with that style of play, I think that will play into the hands of Spain. Spain have conceded 2 goals in the competition this season. Now, even in the competition, even the 2 goals they conceded, 1 was an own goal. They are not bad defensively. They are equally very, very good defensively. Now, what makes them better than this French team is that Spain can create a lot. In fact, they've had more attempts than any other team in the competition. They've scored more goals than any other team in the competition. And they've faced teams that play similarly to France. Georgia, they sit deep and they try to play on the break. You can talk about the Italians as well, who play not to lose. That's just their mindset. Once they are on the pitch, especially in this competition, they don't play to win. They play not to lose. Spain have been able to break the Italian defense down. Spain have been able to break Georgia. Spain have been able to break Germany, who have a fairly good defense, a fairly good attack. But Spain, they've been able to score 2 goals against Germany. And I think
of course, historically as well, we know that the Germans, I mean, in the early 90s to the mid-90s, were very, very strong defensively.
Exactly. And actually, I was speaking about the midfield, the 3-ball winners in midfield. But you look at Spain, the kind of quality they have, aside creating chances using the wings and then from open play, one individual player can dribble past 2 or 3 players. Fabian Ruiz. Against, which team did they even play against in their last game? Against Germany. Just one drag away took about 3 midfielders of Germany. He did something similar against Croatia as well. Now, if the players of Spain are going to step up as they've done consistently in this tournament, I think France will be no match for them.
Okay. The problem for me with Spain is that defending is not in their DNA. If the game requires them to sit deep and absorb the pressure and manage the game, that's not their style.
They are found wanting?
Because they are trained and prepared to play on the front foot, to control the game with possession of the ball. And so when Germany decided to throw the kitchen sink at them, they looked very uncomfortable. And actually, Germany created a number of chances and perhaps should have scored a goal or 2, had even a penalty that was disallowed thanks to the new protocol. But that's another matter. But how they will keep out that French attack. And France, even though they've not scored a ton of goals, they've been very sharp in attack, at least in terms of chance creation. So even though they've only scored 3 goals, they have an XG of 9, which means they should have scored 9 goals by now. The only problem for me is that the bulk of France's chances have been falling to the wrong players. So often to Thuram, the last time Tchouaméni, and players who essentially are not born finishers. If Kylian
Mbappe had a clearer one against Austria, I think. Yes. 1-1, yeah.
But you cannot bet against him that when he gets the next chance, he will score. 9 out of 10 scenarios, he is going to score. If France decides to play on the front foot, that scenario is what gives France a marginal advantage. Spain are on form, but when you look at every problem Spain will pose, you can confidently say that France have proven they can deal with that attack. They can deal with the variety that the Spaniards have got in their play. Conversely, when you flip the coin and look at the French attack and the problems they could pose to Spain, I'm not very comfortable that Cucurella will do a good job on Ousmane Dembele. There's nobody in that team who is stopping him.
But Dembele has been blowing hot and cold in this tournament. So consistency is also an issue.
So that's the issue, that your best bet in that 1v1 situation is that he's going to dribble him. There's no question marks about that. Your best bet is that his end product is going to be as bad as it's been. But that's not something you can live to chance at this stage of this competition, because it's, like we saw against Germany, it is defined by the finest of margins. The games are won by the finest of margins. And so for me, France marginally have the advantage in this one.
Look, there will be chances in this game, Nat, but it has to do with the team that would bring their scoring boots on. France at the moment, they don't have that. They don't. Kylian Mbappe doesn't. Tchouaméni, they don't have. They've scored 2 own goals and a penalty. Come on, you are meeting against a team that has scored 11 goals. With various scorers.
Let's see what this game brings out of some of these guys. You do remember what happened in the last World Cup final that he played in, right? I mean, at a certain point, he just got into a certain mode.
He nearly gave people a heart attack. That last minute dribble.
So anything can happen today.
Of course.
Yeah. So let's just quickly take a look at the respective journeys of the 2 sides up to this point. All right, so let's we'll be doing that very shortly, and talk about players who get into a certain beastly mode. There are so many examples to share. So this is what it is. Let's just quickly go back to what brought them here.
And Dembele scores. And Mike Maignan stands tall. Who scores?
Yeah, and once again, we'd have to talk about this. I mean, yesterday we spent a bit of time on penalty shootouts and the kind of drama they bring, the kind of headlines they generate, and generally the kind of effect they have on players. I mean, even the big names, Cristiano Ronaldo has missed one.
That's why you try to prepare for every scenario possible. England, for example, in that shootout that we saw on Saturday, what did they do? Goalkeeper prepared for every single taker, including what they will do in their run-up, what he has to do to win that psychological warfare. Now they have introduced little things like designating one player who is not part of the first five that would walk every taker, irrespective of whether they score or not, back to join the team after that, just to create a certain feeling of harmony. Before that, we also saw the goalkeeper attempt to be smart in, before the first kick, Pickford engages the referee in a pointless conversation, ostensibly to delay, make the player who's coming to take the spot kick a bit nervous. Because the longer this thing drags, the more nervous the player becomes, because you're in a hurry, you're anxious to get it done and over with. And so you are beginning to see even teams who in the past were not doing well adopt a very different approach to that, being mindful of every single detail. And what is the result? In the last 4 penalty shootouts that England have been involved in, they've won 3. The goalkeeper in question, Pickford himself, has saved 4 out of 14, which is twice the number of the highest England's goalkeepers have had in major competitions.
Okay, so let's go back and take a quick look, because this scenario could replay itself later tonight.
And Dembele scores at the Portugal end. Mike Maignan stands tall. It's Ronaldo who scores. This to restore the advantage. Straight down the middle, no messing. This to make it 2-2. Brilliantly taken. They can't look. It's Koundé. Another splendid penalty. Off the post and out. Now a big opportunity for him at international level. And he's thumped that away too. France have done it.
Germany, the host nation. The last time these sides met to the European Championship. Change of personnel ahead of the second half in Stuttgart. International football winning 3 major tournaments in a row. Yamal, the next generation. That's it! Dani Olmo! It was a signal that this side was developing nicely. Here's Wirtz. Fulcrum goes down, he's at the post! How close is that to a German equalizer? Mittelstadt. So many white shirts to aim for. Kimmich at the back post, that's it! Wirtz! The whistle for 90 minutes blows. Dani Olmo's goal. Up and away by Rudiger. And there it is, the whistle for half-time in extra time. Spain won, Germany won, as it was at the end of the 90. Does he fancy it? Dani Olmo. Mikel Moreno! Mittelstadt, Germany on borrowed time. Musiala, dragged to the ground by Carvajal, who's already on a yellow card. He's going to go. Danny Carvajal sees red. Danny Carvajal used some of the dark arts there.
Well, after watching these highlights over again, are you changing your mind regarding who will score, who will concede, and who will not get the opportunity to go to the final? Well, let's do a round of messages, and after that, we come back to do some more. Karim comes to the studio to bring us some more, facts and some figures as we look ahead to the first semi-final game later this evening. Well, I always like to, give my people away sometimes. So there was a conversation here during the run of commercials about, players and how they can be likened to others around the world. I mean, those who have come from here. And I think that we should just do a whole week's debate about this, our greats, the Mohamed Polos, the Osei Kofis, the Cecil Jones Atukwe Fios, the Charles Taylors and the Don Bottes of the current generation, and who they are better than around the world. Abedi Pele, Tony Yeboah, all of them. And then we can talk about who they are better than around the world. It's a very big conversation we can have. Maybe we should raise this on our X Spaces. But right now, let's bring the man who brings us the facts and the figures. He's looking around. Karim likes to look around.
There's no Daniel, so he's walking majestically, comfortably.
Looking around like a king who looks around where his
Nobody is here to pester him, so he's very much comfortable.
How are you doing, man?
Some days are slow.
I see. Today is slow?
But 12 fans are going to fight.
Okay.
In our language, they will tell you that, but to Suva Leracha Baloka, Yohora Lolo.
What language is that?
Sisali.
That's Sisala. Sisali or Sisala?
Sisali.
Sisali. Okay, so Sisali is the language
Yes.
of the Sisala people.
is the face.
The people. Okay,
Yes.
okay. I see. Interesting.
Repeat that again.
Repeat that.
But Sisali, Rachava Loka.
Okay.
Yahora Lolo.
Okay. So it means that two elephants.
If two elephants are going to fight, it is the grass
That's
surface.
surface. I see.
This one, you need about 2 balls of 2. Otherwise, don't try.
But the two elephants, one has a broken leg.
Okay, tell me about it. Tell us
And
about
we know
it.
that. You don't know the one that has broken leg.
Which one of them is it?
Spain and France. So France, they have a broken leg. So we know they have a broken leg. But still, you know the kind of quality players they have. Still, you can't rule them out. And looking at it, Spain, in their last 19 games, they've won 16 of them. About 79% win percentage. And in the whole of Europe, that is the highest. And at the Euros, they've won all their 5 games coming into today's semi-final. And in the semi-final, from 5 games at the Euros, no team has won more than up to 6 games. It means that Spain they have a record to break if they are to progress to the final and possibly add a 4th to their Euros titles.
But I think in 2008, they won almost all the games.
No.
No, okay, it was not made up of, there were not 24 teams at the time. Okay, that's
So, I mean, 6, winning 5 is the highest any team has done at the Euros final. And no team has won 6 on the trot. It means that they have a record to break if they are to go.
Even across competitions, no team has managed.
Yes, these are. Now let's look at the head-to-head of France and Spain at major tournaments. At major tournaments, including, that is the previous one, please. At major tournaments, they've faced each other 5 times. France won 3 of those games, scored 5 goals. Then Spain won just 1 and also scored 5 goals. 1 ended in draw. Now and let's look at the France last 5 games. In their last 5 games, all of them at the Euros, they've scored. Okay, this is Spain first. Spain first. In their 5 games at the Euros here, they've won all of them, as I've just said, and scored 11 goals. That is the joint highest at the tournament so far. And we've seen that the kind of football they are playing is so very different from what France are doing, though Spain themselves are not that dominant as we've come to know them over the years. In the 5 games they've played here, they've averaged, in 2 of those 5 games, they've had about 48% and 47% possession. In the previous 48 games, they've not gone that low in any of those before coming into the Euros here. It means that they are altering their style of play. Instead of dominating, they are going for efficiency. That is why they are the team that has created the most chances at the Euros, 21, but have also missed the most, 15. So in the last 5 games, they've won all of them, scored 11 goals. Let's see against France. France, we know they are also compact at the back, but unfortunately not efficient in front of goal like Spain. Now this is the last 5 games of France. They've won 2 of them. They've won 2 ended in goalless draws, and 2 ended in goalless draws, and 1 ended in 1-1. And we've seen the last one against Portugal, how they struggled to win it on penalties. Let's see what happens. 2 elephants fighting. We hope the broken leg will not affect them and we enjoy the game.
2 elephants fighting and having the grass suffer. Well, an old Ghanaian, is it Ghanaian or African? Well, you never know. All right, Karim, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Guys, it's very interesting that now we're also having to look at these numbers because does history ever come to play in these kinds of things?
To a certain extent, it does, especially if you look at how the team plays. If you were to watch a Spain team in fact, in any period before 2010 or before 2008, you would realize that they were so fixated with how they would play the game, even if at the expense of the results that they would get. So to that extent, teams that would go up against them would prepare knowing exactly what to expect from Spain in terms of how they would approach the game. But this is the team that, for all intents and purposes, has deviated from the norm and plays more direct, more pragmatic style of playing in the sense that they are not fixated with dominating possession at all costs. They just want to win. They just look for the best outlets or the best approach towards creating chances and then scoring. So this is not one of those games where I would weigh in heavily on the history of the two teams.
Okay, so let's also talk about the current situation, especially the health of these players. Now, Carvajal will not be, would not be available as a result of his red card.
Centre back, Norman as well.
Pedri.
Pedri's injured.
We always say that, Spain normally would come in with a very strong bench. So does this matter?
I think it doesn't. I mean, if you have to do some analysis using this tournament against Albania, you can make a case that Albania are not a force to be reckoned with as far as football is concerned in Europe. But Spain made 10 changes in that game and they won. They kept a clean sheet. Even against Germany, the 2 goals they scored, the 2 players who scored were not starters. So Spain are not a team that rely on their starters, unlike a team like France or even England or the other teams in the competition where a key player is not there and they'll be found wanted. But there's a Spanish side that, even in extra time against Germany, they took Lamine Yamal off. I think Nuko was also off.
That was before extra time.
Before extra time. So, and these are part of the important players in that Spanish team, yet they were taken off before extra time. So it tells you how formidable Luis de la Fuente, how his team is very strong. The first 11 on the bench, any player at all could come up and then they could impress, they could make a mark, they could score. Dani Olmo, Ferran Torres, all these players are available. I expect Jesus Navas to start at right back. He seems pretty much old, but he's very strong, he's very confident, and I don't think he would face any problem at all. I know he's facing Kylian Mbappe, but Kylian Mbappe himself, he hasn't stamped his authority in this competition. So I know you are not, you two are quite optimistic that he could turn up. But this is football. You are being judged. You are good as your last game, isn't it? So yes, he hasn't turned up. He's been struggling in this competition. That is the fact. And I feel that clearly gives Spain the edge.
Okay. Yeah.
I disagree.
Tell me why.
I disagree. I think Spain were significantly weakened by those 2 substitutions.
But they won, and they kept a clean sheet. That's the most important thing.
We're just talking about the issue of the strength in depth and what they've got off the bench. I'm just saying to you that the replacements that came did not offer the same threat and quality as Lamine Yamal and Nico Williams.
But I feel if you
Spain was significantly weakened by that.
Germany, they were playing against host nation.
Yeah.
Germany were trailing. You expect that they are being provoked by Spain's lead, and that they would try as much as possible to equalize.
Even if
Germany they would attack.
Even if Germany,
it's normal.
Even if
and
Germany,
you are playing against a good team, you have to protect your lead.
Even if Germany were
ahead.
Even if Germany were in the lead, under no circumstance would anyone
them to dominate Germany.
ever suggest that Ferran Torres and then Ayoze Perez would offer the same quality as Lamine Yamal and Nico Williams. They are not at par. Those 2 players who start for Spain are significantly better. What's more, the other substitutions were forced by injuries and by suspensions. So Pedri got injured. His position had to be taken by Dani Olmo, who is a credible replacement, it has to be said. I think Nacho is even more experienced than Lenormand. Where the problem for Spain will be is at right back. Because Dani Carvajal, for all intents and purposes, is perhaps the only right back in the world at the moment who will have no problems dealing with Kylian Mbappe. Even with that element of spontaneity, that you cannot put Mbappe on a leash for 90 minutes. It's practically impossible. You can only do your best and hope that he doesn't have any of those moments until the game is over. The idea that anybody else apart from... And it was a very strange red card to take because Musiala was not going anywhere. Yes, he was getting ahead of him. Germany were on the counter break, but it was not close enough to goal for you to say that I needed to desperately take one for the team. And he knew that he was already on suspension, one more yellow card, and then he was going to miss the game. So for a player as experienced as Dani Carvajal, who's expected to be very aware of all of these factors at every point in the game to make that kind of decision, for me was quite shocking. And I think it's going to cost this team.
But you haven't really spoken about the attack of Spain against the defensive setup of France.
He was asking about the players who
Yeah, but throughout this conversation, you seem to be silent.
He's sitting in Danny's place, so maybe they will be thinking along the same lines.
Yeah.
But let's talk about it. Let's talk about it now in wrapping up the conversation. What then do we need to look out for when it comes to the French hopefully holding the firepower of Spain?
Well, France have kept 4 clean sheets. They've been very good defensively, and that is the fact. Didier Deschamps, he's a manager that will obviously go for defense first before thinking of how to score goals and how to win games. But you look at the opponents they faced in the competition. I feel they were not strong opponents. Belgium have not been good in attack in this competition. The Netherlands, before in the group stages, have not been good in attack. And they still rely on Cody Gakpo for magic. Now, unlike Spain, Spain have been very good. The record is there, 11 goals. And I think they can indeed break down the defense of France. Why? Because in as much as France would want to sit deep, they know that Spain would be on them. They know that Spain play a high-risk football, high reward, obviously. They've scored so many goals. And clearly, that will leave space in behind. They would want to attack at the slightest opportunity they have. And for me, I think that will play into the hands of Spain as well, because they are very good technically. They are very good on one-on-one situations. They can create chances from open play. They've got individual players who can grab the game by the scruff of the neck and then make something happen. And for me, that is clearly what is giving the Spanish team the advantage over France. Spain can create and they can score. But if France create, what is the guarantee that they can score?
Well, what kinds of scorelines are we looking at? Are we going to go into extra time from your projections? No. Are we going to do any penalty shootouts?
I think France win this in normal time.
Okay.
Spain will win. Spain
Look,
will win.
Spain. Okay. So once again, we have a torn here in the studio.
Look, this idea that France have been playing a bunch of nobodies and Spain, who have Spain beaten? Spain have beaten the West Italian team in the last 10 years. They've beaten the West Croatian team in the last 10 years. They've beaten Albania and then Georgia to get here. Essentially, the only credible opponents that Spain have faced has to be the Germans.
And they got the job done.
So yes, they've looked the part, but you cannot in one breath say that Portugal have not faced strong teams, but then project Georgia, Albania as credible opponents.
No, but against Albania, they changed almost all their players.
It does not matter.
It does.
Even if they use the youth team, they should be there. It's Albania.
All right. Well, I know the conversation can go on and on, but would like to say a very big thank you to our friends at Electro-Ghana Limited. Electroland are the sole distributors of NASCO products. NASCO Bring Home Happiness. And also Heritage Christian College, empowering the set of new entrepreneurial leaders. Okay, so this is how we wrap it up here. Definitely there will be one team making it into the final. And of course, when we come back tomorrow, we will sure do justice to reviewing that game. Thanks to the whole production team. We'll be back tomorrow at the same time at 11 a.m. And thanks to Victor and Mubarak. You stay well. My name is Nathaniel Atto, and I have love for sport.